Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, on the beta stage of the fourth Baltic MSP Forum. My name is Artis Ozoliņš, and I will be your stage host here in Latvia. Today, we're having two workshops on the beta stage. Right now, we're going to start off with workshop number 3, which is Marine Cultural Heritage, challenging part of MSP. And at 3:30 Central Eastern Time, we're going to continue with workshop number 5. The role of MSP in supporting sustainable ocean, multi-use, and blue economy. Before I hand it over to the content moderator of this session, I would just like to remind you of the basic controls of this platform. So, on the right-hand side, you can see the comments section. Please do use that. Write down comments, write down questions. You can also send questions to the content moderator directly, so please use that feature. There are additional 2 tabs. Probably they're not visible right now, but they will be visible once polls are used. So first of all, there will be a poll section. Some of the moderators of this stage will use polls. So once they are there, please do fill them out, as they are time restricted and will disappear in a while. And there will also be the usage of word clouds, where you can submit open-ended answers, and they will be put in a cloud for moderators to use. So those are the basic controls you have to know to participate with us, because we are working fully online around the globe. So right now, at this moment, I would like to introduce you to the session moderator of this workshop number 3. And he's a professor at the University of Gdansk, member of the Committee of for Spatial Economy and Regional Planning of Polish Academy of Sciences, and a researcher in the Maritime Institute of Gdansk of Maritime University of Gdynia. Ladies and gentlemen, Professor Jacek Zaucha, welcome.
Thank you a lot for such a nice and warm welcome. But this workshop will be moderated not only by me, but also by my colleague Magda Matczak. We are a Polish MSP team, and we became fans of maritime cultural heritage. Therefore, this workshop is about that. But before starting the workshop, I would like to drive your attention to the questions. We have one question in the pool. They are very simple, so don't be afraid to answer them. And one is in the cloud. And it would be great if you can now try to answer those questions during my introductory speech, and try to use your imagination, because this cloud question will somehow, the reason is that we want to use our minds, our visionary thinking about maritime cultural heritage. Okay, so next slide. During this workshop, we'll have 3 presentations. The first one will be delivered by Marianne Lehtimäki. That will be a great Finnish experience on the how this maritime cultural heritage was treated under maritime spatial planning. Then from Poland, Iwona Pomian. Both ladies, they were part of Baltic Green Project. Iwona Pomian will tell us about Polish landscape idea. And the second presentation will be by Joanna Prowarczyk from Institute of Oceanology of Polish Academy of Science, also from Poland. But here we'll speak about intangible maritime cultural heritage. And then after that, we'll have a panel. You are invited to ask questions to the panelists. The panel is composed of Matthias Maluch, who is the leader. He was a leader of Baltic Green Project. Susan Altvater from ESPRO, also part of this project. And then Iwona Pomian and Salamaria Tikkanen from Finnish Heritage Agency, to bring to the panel this splendid Finnish experience. Next slide. So we had such or similar session during the previous forum. So what has happened? First of all, we have integrated cultural heritage into maritime spatial planning handbook. This is a handbook with the result of Baltic Green Project. But also what is very important, and we'll discuss it, we have a memorandum of cooperation with HELCOM VASAP working group on MSP in relation to this maritime cultural heritage. And then we have plans, different plans, which are almost ready at the final stage or they are very advanced in the Baltic Sea region, maritime spatial plans. And those plans somehow they integrated this maritime cultural heritage to different degree, but it's very interesting how it was done. And then we are running now capacity projects, the project which is prioritizing the future agenda for MSP. And here this MSH was not prioritized so much. Next slide. So you can see this on the next slide, that we added maritime cultural heritage to the sea. We think it's really important in Poland. We feel this importance, but also in this group, which is working with this concept in Land Sea Act project, in Baltic Rim project. So it would be great if all spatial planners, they have such a big heart to the sea, and this big heart is part of this maritime cultural heritage. So now I would like to ask Magda to tell if we have any results from the cloud.
Yes, thank you, Jacek. And when looking at the results of our pool, we ask you quite a simple question: have you worked with maritime cultural heritage already? So we have most of our participants responded that partly, and like 20% yes or no. So we have audience that somehow is aware of the topic and of the challenges. And when looking at the word clouds, what does maritime cultural heritage means to you? The most obvious or most repeated description is emotions. So then we have place, identity, history, and identity. So the identity and emotions plays here the main role. Also, we have some multi-use tourism, and so I think that those are the most important things for the moment. Yes.
So you feel, Magda, that this heart was a proper,
Yes, it sounds like the heart. It was a good symbol. Yeah, the emotions are very important here, and identity. Mm-hmm.
Thank you, Magda. So we'll move now to the first presentation. As I said, maritime cultural heritage integration in MSP with the focus on the Finnish experience. Marianne, the floors belong.
Thank you, Jacek. I'm very pleased to have this opportunity to present you the key outcome of the Baltic Rim project, not focusing only on the Finnish cases, but showing the diversity, what kind of solutions there has been so far in this integration, because it seems that both the maritime cultural heritage framework and the MSP, they differ a lot, and they demand different solutions. So my name is Marianne Lehtimäki, and I have prepared this presentation together with senior advisor Salla-Maria Tikkanen from the Finnish Heritage Board Agency, and Salla-Maria chairs the Baltic Sea region underwater heritage working group. And this project, Baltic Rim, was prepared in the framework of this regional cooperation. And Submarine Network brought in the maritime spatial planning knowledge, and we worked 2017 and 20. Next slide, please. So, the word Viking places the Baltic and North Seas on a world map. Maritime trade of the Hanseatic League is visible in several towns, harbors, buildings, museums, and underwater sites. Vasa Museum is the most visited museum in Scandinavia, displaying world's only preserved 16th century ship, which was stored as a wreck in the bottom of the Baltic Sea over 300 years before it was salvaged. However, the richness and uniqueness of the maritime and underwater cultural heritage in the Baltic Sea is not widely known. So we have this working group on underwater cultural heritage, which has worked and perceived and assessed the Baltic Sea as one entity. And this has resulted in insight of the richness and diversity of the underwater heritage assets we have. The national registers include some 20,000 underwater cultural heritage sites in the Baltic Sea. However, this is only a fraction since systematic inventories have been made nowhere. Next slide, please. So here is a brief list of the very concrete challenges that we encountered and which we are facing when integrating underwater cultural heritage or maritime cultural heritage into MSP. The first is what Jacek already said, that the role, the importance of the underwater cultural heritage is not shared, as it was shown in this logo. It was showing different uses of the sea, but underwater and maritime cultural heritage was missing. And one might claim that in this logo that the sea has been recolonized by new uses without linkages to the past and to the history of maritime uses. And this challenge would be tackled by integrating closely the cultural heritage values and landscape in the very objective of MSP. Then we have these other challenges with incomplete involvement, with different kind of registers and the data they have, and of course that these MSP practices has to be developed, but this is done in a different way and some of them seems to be quite successful. Next one, please. Yes. So perhaps did you? Okay. The Baltic Sea, the Maritime Spatial Planning Directive noticed only underwater cultural heritage, but even underwater cultural heritage has close links both to the sea and to the land. It can be linked to, for example, historic maritime routes, trade, war, maritime industries of the past, like shipbuilding, shipyards, and other livelihoods. Therefore, the Baltic Rim project selected to use the border concept of maritime cultural heritage, which gathers a more comprehensive view of heritage assets and frameworks and contributes better to a successful blue economy. Integration of maritime cultural heritage instead of underwater cultural heritage only enables consideration of larger areas and themes in the framework of blue growth, even across borders. We prepared a Baltic Rim Wiki, which defines maritime cultural heritage terms, for example, to define aerial entities of underwater cultural heritage, like sea battle sites, ship traps, and ship graveyards. And then we have the concept of underwater landscape for promoting the intangible values and significance of underwater and cultural spaces. Here the reference is the European Landscape Convention of the Council of Europe, which seeks to develop a new territorial culture centering on the quality of the landscape protection, management, and planning. And this is something that the underwater landscape concept was already used in the Finnish maritime spatial planning. Next. And this is one picture of the Finnish MSP material, and this is now already the 2030 vision. This is displayed online on the MSP pages and was part of the several open MSP workshop material. The Finnish MSP process identified cultural heritage and landscape values. It started with analyzing the legislative framework. It gathered information on different aspects and elements of maritime heritage, and there the Finnish Heritage Agency prepared a report to display and gather these. And so it was dealt with together, maritime heritage together with landscape and nature in the planning area. Next slide, please. And here we made analyses on ongoing MSP processes. So this is by summer 2020. And this is the countries with the closed underwater cultural heritage data registers. You can note that there are national differences between legal and institutional frameworks, and also the way how the maritime cultural heritage or underwater cultural heritage was integrated. And in some partner countries, they develop options for integration in cases where this task exceeded their capacity to influence ongoing MSP processes. So this is something which is preparing the second round of MSP. Next slide. And here we have a short summary analysis dealing with the Baltic Rim partner countries with online geospatial data registers on underwater cultural heritage. And again, there is a great variety. In Estonia, key to successful solution were the legal framework for cultural heritage, cross-sector collaboration and local interaction. In Denmark, underwater cultural heritage data is available and it's visible as a service layer, but it is not worked on in the MSP. And in Finland, the cultural heritage was one of the Blue Growth themes. Next slide, please. Multi-use was one of the topics in the project. In the pilot areas, combination of tourism, nature, and maritime cultural heritage were most usual. Baltic Sea region as one destination is the motto of the European Union strategy for the Baltic Sea region policy area tourism. And a project promoted this concept in the frame or motto in the framework of Blue Growth. And we developed contents motto and presented a Baltic Sea region chain of maritime attractions, which combined maritime routes with lighthouses, harbors, and shipyards as visiting attractions. It included historic ships in operation as part of intangible heritage and culture of navigation, and historic ships in museums as means for research and exhibitions, as well as shipwrecks in situ and online as underwater experiences. And then we recommend you to look closer to this project, Musees and Baltasar, to see what kind of solutions for multi-use they made. Next slide, please. Then I hope that you got interested in looking for more detailed information about the project. Here are the links. These two publications include the project recommendations for heritage authorities, for maritime spatial planners and decision makers, and for cooperation between two sectors. One goal of this project was to assist the Baltic Sea region to become a globally exemplary macro-region in integrating maritime cultural heritage through joint efforts. And these recommendations assist in paving way for a common roadmap to achieve this. So we look forward to cooperation between HELCOM WASAP working group on MSP and the Baltic Sea Region working group on underwater cultural heritage. Next slide, please. So today, Tackling climate change and species depletion are key requirements for all land use planning. If we do not take sustainability seriously, other options will lead to societies and world that can no longer be managed by planning. So in those short month or year after closing of the project, we understand that now the premises for the cooperation and for the project would be changed and different. But it makes us stronger, or thinking stronger, that the cultural heritage is needed inside and within the MSFP process. Next slide, please. So in this new situation, cultural heritage can assist in the societal. Cultural heritage engage societies and contributes to the feeling of continuity and the crisis resistance of communities. Safeguarding of heritage is an elementary part of more sustainable land use and consumption patterns regarding planetary sustainability. Next slide, please. So, we look forward to continuing the interaction and collaboration between MSP and heritage sectors. Thank you.
Thank you a lot, Marianne. I am very happy you have made this picture, and I must say I'm looking on the cloud, and you changed now thinking of people, because now we have history, tourism, and emotions as a leading paradigm related to the maritime cultural heritage. So my congratulations. Okay, now I would like to invite Iwona Pomian, or rather Iwona Pomian wants to invite us to the underwater excursion. And she will show us this beautiful paleo landscapes which are existing close to our Polish coast. So Iwona, please make this presentation really attractive.
Hello, I'm really glad to have opportunity to present you results of our Polish part of Baltic Dream project. And sorry, I can see my presentation. I can't see my presentation, so can we do something with it?
Iwona, I can see you.
Great. So again, I'm really happy to be here and present what we did in the Baltic Dream, and also because I'm after Marianne Lautermaki, who showed the general results of the Baltic Dream, so you know what we try to receive in this project. But I will try to concentrate more detail about the cultural landscape or underwater cultural landscape, which we try to create in our Polish case. Next, please. Okay, before I will go to the Pucka Lagoon, which was area aquen on which we were worked, I should explain a little bit about the maritime cultural heritage on the Puck Bay, which is a part of the the Gdańsk Bay, much bigger aquen. So as you can see, we have a lot of sites, interesting cultural sites in Puck Bay. Sometimes we call this bay as a treasure bay, especially around the Gdańsk harbor. And on the right side, you can see location of the wreck on the one side of the enter to the Gdańsk harbor. This green dots, you can see around the 9 wrecks from 15th century to 19th century. And on above, you can see the view of the new Gdańsk harbor. And as you can observe, it will cover this area where we have wrecks. So we had to think about it. What shall we do? Shall we protect just the points, or shall we protect the zone? But we don't want to stop the development of harbors. So I will mention only that we prepare something like a storage place for the wrecks. And just in this moment, we have a few wrecks in this place and also artifacts in the middle of the Putsk Bay. And in the near future, we would like to open it for the divers as a tourist attraction. And you can also observe it on the webpage of the Maritime Museum. But now we'll come back to a little bit older cultural landscape. Next, please. So what we know about our area, it changed a lot in the last few thousand years, and especially in the early Holocene. You can see the map of actual Poland with a red line. This is actual coastline. So you can see that more than 9,000 years BP, we had a land area located more to the north, and from this area on the open sea, red rectangular, we found a sunken forest. So it was a sign for us that we could concentrate and try to locate similar areas on the Putzka Lagoon, this red circle. Today, Putzk Lagoon is a very shallow aqueduct, 2-3 meters deep, with a potential of submerged landscape. Next, please. So we had to prepare the plan for work in Baltic Rim project, and I should say that I used as a good example cooperation from the North Sea between the Netherlands, Belgium, and Great Britain, and we try to follow the instruction, the guidelines prepared by our colleagues from this region. They had great results. So we were thinking to connect the geological, archaeological, historical sources and try to reconstruct the paleo landscape for this area. Archaeologist, my colleague from the team, Krzysztof Kurzyk, who is a specialist in the Stone Age, he prepared a database about known archaeological sites from the period. You can see the sources, very old sources from our archives, and they exchanged it to the GIS system. Next, please. But also, we were thinking to use geological analysis, which already exists, and the first general information on the morphology and development of this region, based mainly on data from the nearshore and bathymetric data, can be found in the works from 1964, so quite a long time ago. The most recent and the most detailed data on the Quaternary, especially on the late glacial and Holocene sediments, their origin, age, and distribution on the bottom of the Putzka Lagoon are provided by the research projects and carried out by the Polish Geological Institute, and the specialists from this institute, they cooperate with us and they help us to make analysis. By the project, we use this archives. I will show you later on what kind of data. Also, new radiocarbon dates, which gave us a date. Here you can see the youngest 4,500 BC, which are correlated with the oldest layers of the land sites. Next, please. Here you have a view of the geological studies on this area, and you can see it's a lot of information, but still not enough for us, because they are very precise for geologists, and the distance between the profile as 2-3 kilometers is enough for geologists, but not enough for the archaeologists to try to reconstruct the Paleo landscape. So next, please. So what we receive, of course, we receive much more information. You can check it on the Baltic Rim webpage, but most important is that on the basis of analysis made by the specialists from Polish Geological Institute, we receive Paleo coastline dated till 7,000 BP, and it was more or less correlated with a bathymetry line, 3 meters depth bathymetry line. So we have been able to prepare the protection zone for this area, which connect the area on land and on the sea. Next, please. And what kind of rules was created for this area? In marked pots, in which we found sunken forest and some artifacts, restriction on carrying out investment, threatening the submerged Paleo landscape and archaeological sites, dredging, tempering, sand extraction, construction. In this area, everything has to be can be made only with a preview archaeological inventory. Obligatory performance of archaeological research in the direction of the cultural Paleo landscape, apart from environmental impact assessment. And the last one, development of the strategy for the preservation of the cultural Paleo landscape and the use for the development of municipalities. And we are working with this point still. Next one, please. So, principles in practice. And I think the Puck Marina is a good example. Puck is a small but very interesting town located in the corner of the Pucka Lagoon and with a very interesting history and cultural objects, which could be a good point for the tourism which they try to create. They have also a long tradition with sailing schools, and this is a center of sailing, but municipality dreams about a huge marina. As you can see, the plan is really huge and unfortunately touched the protected zone of the medieval harbor, which is located close to this marina. So you can see what kind of recommendation was made on the basis of the results of the Baltic Rim. And what is interesting, that the investors, they agree with it. They thought that this is clear, and this is the first time when they receive a clear information what they should do. Next, please. If we are remember that we have a huge differences between the population density in the different countries around the Baltic, then maybe it will be simpler to understand differences in the protection systems. If you have country with a very long coastline and small density, like I like Finland from this reason, but like 18 persons per square kilometer, and you compare it with Poland, where you have just more than 700 kilometers, but the density is around 125 persons per kilometer. So in such a place like a Pucka Bay, which is extremely popular touristic region and has even higher density, is very difficult to explain why people can't create something, build a new place, new case, and stop all this kind of activity. So we have to be very open for the discussion. Next, please. And doesn't one care about it? Of course, divers, because they are interested about wrecks. But some of the specialists, they try to suggest that underwater tourism is not the best idea for the natural environment. But also a good example from the Puck, because Puck is interested to create a touristic offer based on such a cultural heritage. And we started just in this year. Next one. And thank you very much.
Thank you a lot, Ivona. I must say that you asked very important question. Does anyone care? I think that it would be great to try to find an answer to this question, but I'm looking somehow on the question in a chat, and yes, please express also your opinion there. Please express your ideas, whether you think that people care, and perhaps you can also ask questions to us how people care about this maritime cultural heritage. But I think that the person who really knows what is in the people's hearts, what people think about MSP is Joanna Piwowarczyk, because she tried to introduce this human dimension to the maritime cultural heritage thinking and acting of the people. So I would like to ask Joanna first to tell us about the result of her research done in the Land-Sea Act project. But also I would like to encourage all of you to share your opinions and ideas about how you care about maritime cultural heritage. Please ask questions.
Okay, hello. Thank you very much for inviting me for this workshop. As Jacek has already mentioned, my work is a little bit different because it actually sort of gives the voice to the people. And within my research, I was actually trying to see or to investigate what people find important or what people find dear about marine environment and about marine culture. So maybe, yes, my presentation will be most about emotions and connections. Next, let's please. So basically, when you look in the literature, there is no one single approach or what marine culture is or is not. So in my opinion, the wide approach can say that marine culture is about connections and meanings and emotions, which I didn't put here, that people put on the sea and they put and their relations with this environment. But of course, this is not so easy to measure because it's mostly intangible feelings and intangible emotions. Like more narrower and maybe to some extent more practical approach is the approach of maritime heritage, where mostly the two previous presentations were about. And that's about meanings and relations that are linked with the resources originating from the past. Another feeling is that the maritime heritage does include tangible and intangible elements, although to some extent it's more focused on the past and less focused on the contemporary culture, or more on the contemporary people and their emotions towards the place where they live or towards the place when they rest and relax. Next slide, please. So when we look at the Polish experience in maritime spatial planning, that's an ongoing experience at various levels. I think that it's fair to conclude that especially for the plans developed for the whole Polish marine areas, the underwater, the marine culture was sort of limited to underwater cultural heritage, mainly wrecks. However, the concept is developing and the approaches are changing a bit. And in the current proceedings for of the maritime spatial plans for the Gulf of Gdańsk and for the Vistula Lagoon, we can see that this approach is slightly changing, and there are already issues of paleo landscapes and also especially in the Vistula Lagoon, there's more focus on the interaction between the land and the sea. And here, I think it's important to underline that in the Polish context, interactions between the land and the sea might be difficult to approach, but because MSP jurisdiction is strictly limited to the sea, so these interferences are more difficult to actually embrace. Next slide, please. So in my research, I was trying to use the concept of culturally significant areas that allows to identify these areas or these features that are important for the local, regional, or even national or international communities. And in terms of 5 assessment criteria, and the first one is cultural uniqueness. The second one is the broad cultural or community reliance. The third criterion refers to the importance for the socio-ecological system, then the degree of tradition, and whether the areas or the communities are under the dramatic cultural change. Next slide, please. Our case study was originally planned for the whole Gulf of Gdańsk, that basically stretches from Władysławowo that you can see on the map till the purple line on the east. And however, during the pilot interviews and in the early stage of our research, we decided that it should be divided into 2 sub-case studies. That's the Gulf of Gdańsk in the west and the Vistula Lagoon in the east. The division was made based on the historical background, because the Gulf of Gdańsk is more like traditional fishing communities, and there's a deep culture going back to the past, while the Vistula Lagoon is more modern, and the community's links with the region date on about 3 generations back. And also in the pilot interviews, we received this feeling that the Vistula Lagoon region is less marine, and it's more coastal or more inland. That was sort of clear in our interviews. While for the Gulf of Gdańsk, or exactly the Puck, or mainly the Puck Bay, the coastal fisheries seem to play much more important role. Next time, please. Our methodology included semi-structured interviews, which also included the map exercise, but unfortunately, we were sort of interrupted in the middle with the interviews by the COVID-19 pandemic. So we only managed to perform 20 interviews face-to-face, and the rest, and these were the interviews performed mainly with the representatives of the coastal fishing sector, and the rest of the interviews we performed through the phone, which obviously couldn't give us the direct interactions between our respondents and the maps. Next time, please. So we are still in the middle of the data analysis, and we haven't analyzed all the data we have so far connected. But it seems that the stakeholders' input and the semi-structured interviews are mostly relevant to assess cultural uniqueness and community reliance. It's much more difficult for the 2 other criteria, that are the degree of traditions and resilience of the social ecological systems. Dramatic cultural change is something that may be not directly relevant to our case study. However, in our interviews, especially in the Gulf of Gdańsk, we see that the coastal fishers have this feeling that their lifestyle is slowly coming to the end. So actually, there is some indications that this criterion is important. Next time, please. So our analysis basically will follow 2 steps. In the first step, we want to find out, or we want to indicate what are the most important places and what are the most important features related to marine and coastal areas that actually are important for people and the people would like to protect or maintain their use in the long period of time. The second step will be the deeper discourse analysis, going a bit outside or outside the identified features. So basically, we first try to identify what is an important place or what is an important feature. Then, why is it valued? Is it valued because of the landscape, view, history, or specific experience? Who it is important for or who cares, whether it's more like the personal connections, is the place important from the community perspective, or is it more like the use for tourism or coastal fishery? At the end, we try to assess it, whether the feature is connected with the land, with the sea, or whether there are some directions of between these two areas that influence, and what's the direction of this influence, whether it comes from the land to the sea or from the sea to the land. Next slide, please. So this is actually the example of the map or of the approach, how we try to put our respondents' answer into the map. So in this particular example, the person was talking about a pier in Orłowo. That's a part of Gdynia. That's the big city around the Gulf of Gdańsk. And the narration was that this pier is important for the person because she or he likes to go there and have the view over the sea. There's also, if you can see, another purple line that indicates the walking path on the cliff above the area, and that was also mentioned as important time to go and relax with family and friends. Next time, please. And this is an example of another map, and on another place, and on let's say another value. So basically, it shows important places around the Vistula Spit when you can actually enjoy or see the seals coming to rest, and also that's important places for bird watching. That's basically the yellow square and the blue figure that is maybe not perfectly visible. Next time, please. Slide, please. So as far as we got, it seems that people, that the most important features of values concerning marine and coastal environment is actually the landscape. It's the views that people enjoy. It's kind of a unique coastal experience defined in various ways. It's also all about relaxation and recreation. So far, we have also found some problems how to actually put this qualitative data into a spatial dimension, which I think is actually one of the most important challenges when you try to put emotions or connections or relations into the map, is how to actually protect the different values such as views. So what should be a buffer zone, and what would be the acceptance level, for example, for the offshore wind farms, how far they should be actually for people to be able to accept it, and how to actually assess the importance of different features. Whether, for example, personal connections should have the same, should have not the same value as the value that's seen important at the community level. Because given that our methodology is mostly qualitative, we wouldn't like that just to end up with the number of hits indicating the importance of a feature of a place. Next time, slide, please. So we are still working on how to put our qualitative data on the map. And doing the discourse analysis, which perhaps would allow us for more reflection about resilience of the features of the culture around the Gulf of Gdańsk. Then we would like to run validation workshops. It's when the maps are ready, because we think it's important to show the maps back to the stakeholders and maybe include again a wider group of people. So to find whether there's actually some places or some features that we have missed. And then we would like to have the workshop with the experts, maybe the archaeologists, historians, social scientists, to actually try to cover other elements which are sort of outside the narrations of the stakeholders. And like as a final remark, I would also like to say that perhaps we need somehow to work more about disseminating knowledge about marine spatial planning outside the interest group or outside the typical stakeholders. Because out of these 50 people we have talked with so much, the majority of them has neither heard about marine spatial planning or did not involve in marine spatial planning anyhow, because they thought the process is not important for what they are doing. And at the same time, they were really able to list a lot of connections and emotions toward the sea and towards the coastal areas that they would like to be able to use in the future. And I think that's when we come to the social sustainability or social dimension of marine spatial planning. That's, in my opinion, it's very important, but it's still somehow missing, not to say overlooked. And thank you very much.
Thank you, Asha, a lot. I must say, I do appreciate that you are with us here. We know that tomorrow is a very important day for you, because you will try to use, your knowledge about the emotion of the people, to translate this knowledge into scientific PhD, which will be defended. So I cross my fingers for this.
Thank you.
I know that you must leave, so my immediate question is, Asha, because Marianne, she told us various elements of this maritime cultural heritage. And now when I'm looking on this emotional attachment, then how you think whether people, they react emotionally to what they can see, or they really ought to appreciate, for example, this battlefields which were mentioned by Marianne, or this paleo landscape, because they cannot be easily seen. So how this methodology can be used for those part of maritime cultural heritage which is not obvious to normal persons? That's my question. If you can tell, that would be great.
Well, I think that this method, I think that our impression so far that people actually value what they can experience or what they can see, but that also goes back to history or something that they could actually experience in the museum or in the other way. In the interviews I have analyzed so far, and that's about half of what we've done, I haven't really come across any like underwater landscape, but I did come across the wrecks, which are important for the diving community and for the divers as a recreation or sport. So I think that there's no like direct possibility to include these more tangible values through the interviews with certain kind of stakeholders, but you can of course add what we actually plan to do at the end, to add experts in the field. So, for example, introduce the perspective of people like Ivona, who's working with the underwater heritage, or with the historians, or with other people actually working with the history of the area, and then you could have different layers which would somehow correspond to each other. But what was also presented, like trying to use the underwater heritage, like in the city of Puck, to actually create a tourism offer, I think that in the long time people will learn what actually under the water as the third dimension and why they really like or value it. So that would be my reply to your question.
Thank you a lot. I would pick up one word, which is experience. That's very important, because we can give people various types of experience. We can expose them to maritime cultural heritage through education, through films, through various ways of bringing them to those parts of the sea that cannot be easily seen from the surface. But I think this could be a very interesting topic also for our panel, how to make this maritime culture heritage close to the hearts of the normal persons, those who are, inhabitants or tourists visiting the coast. I would like to ask now Magda to start the panel, and once more I would like to encourage all of you to ask questions in this function, which is ask question to your moderator, and we'll try to bring those questions to the panel discussion.
Okay, thank you very much, Jacek. So it's now time for our discussion in a panel. I would like to introduce and welcome to the panel our three guests, which we haven't met so far. So first, Matthias Maluk, who is a Baltic CRIM lead partner, who was a Baltic CRIM lead partner, and he is the head of the unit for special planning and international projects at the State Archaeology Department of Schleswig-Holstein. And also Susanne Altvater, a maritime special planner and a policy consultant at ESPRO in Berlin. She was responsible for Baltic CRIM project performance. And Salla-Maria Tikkanen, a specialist for maritime and underwater heritage at the Finnish Heritage Agency in Helsinki, Finland. So those are the three persons which I would like to welcome here. And of course, we have Jacek and Ivona on board still. And Jacek, I would like you to digest all the presentations, and especially I think that the presentation of Asia Piwowarczyk was the most challenging because these intangible elements are still something new in our MSP world. So the maritime cultural heritage, like 5 years ago, it was something challenging, but now we know a lot thanks to Baltic CRIM projects, but the intangible elements are something new and challenging and sometimes maybe frustrating for us, especially when we hear that the society, the people, they are not aware of the planning process and what we as planners should do more. Okay, so I would like to keep this addendum importance of the practical implementation of maritime culture heritage aspects in the Baltic Sea countries. So we'd like to pose the first question to Matthias. As a lead partner of Baltic CRIM. Matthias, we have heard about how the Baltic CRIM project influenced Polish and Finnish planning processes. Could you please give us some examples from the other countries like Germany? What are the practical achievements of the German case study within the Baltic CRIM? Just try to tell us how we manage to influence the planning process. What is yours?
Yeah, thank you, Magda. I think the examples, of course, of Marianne and Ivona were exemplary for the challenges we all had in the Baltic Sea region when it comes to integrating maritime special planning, maritime cultural heritage into spatial planning. So all the other examples basically go along the same lines. So in other countries like Denmark, Lithuania or Estonia, special pilot areas were designated and explored into more detail so as to provide to planners a very good example of an area that for special use and how to use them. So like Ivona explained, do these areas need to be protected in situ? Can I do anything with them instead of, or just do I have to leave them as they are? Or is it possible, for instance, to use them for diving, for tourist activities? These were the questions that were placed these areas, and there were some good examples picked in these countries. In Schleswig-Holstein in Germany, we had a more basic, more fundamental approach because we didn't have that much information, detailed information on specific areas. So we basically needed to start our database, improve the database, and then designate, we call them priority areas of cultural heritage, underwater cultural heritage, but also extending to the shores, to the land, maritime cultural heritage areas. And of course, we forwarded them also to the planners, but we were not able, for instance, to integrate them into the maritime spatial plans, which were made at the moment. That was because we were missing some more legal foundation for these areas. So that's a step we need to take next time. But what we managed to do is actually get more into the basic level of spatial planning. So when it comes to the goals of spatial planning, when it comes to recommendations of how to deal with maritime spatial planning, maritime cultural heritage. And we did a good job there, and we managed to integrate cultural heritage into the spatial plans. So it's recognized as a value, and it is clear that every development, for instance, that happens in the seas needs to consider cultural heritage as well, even if it's not known at the moment what is there. So it needs to be explored what is there, and it needs to be clear that first priority is to safeguard cultural heritage in situ, and only if that's not possible, you can then remove it, as Ivona gave the example, into another place where you can then use it as a diving destination or excavate it. But that would be ultimate ratio. And that's also important for, of course, the developments, because this involves a lot of money if you need to remove cultural heritage. Our experience here in practice is they're very interested in where the cultural heritage is and how can they avoid actually tackling it and destroying it, and rather having a detour with a cable or placing a wind turbine somewhere else. And so these are very important information we were able to give, and actually which we could include into the spatial plans.
Thank you, Matthias. You, ladies and gentlemen, you don't see the other participants, but they can see the small pictures and their heads are nodding. They are all agree with Matthias as this is important, and the information, the knowledge, and the awareness is so important. Matthias, I would like still to ask you about this intangible dimension of maritime cultural heritage. Do you, in your work, just tell us, be honest, do you in your daily work, in your agency, do you also deal with these intangible aspects of maritime culture? How is...
Thank you. That's a sensitive question indeed.
I know.
And I would say now at the latest, after this great project and the good input we got from like issues concerning underwater cultural heritage, but also culturally significant areas, we are certainly aware of intangible aspects, but we are not used to working with them. So when we identify underwater cultural heritage, of course, we look for wrecks, we look for underwater landscapes, but mapping the intangible aspects, as Joanna explained them, this is, at the moment, I have to admit, something beyond our scope, beyond what we can do. But absolutely, we are very much interested in including these aspects in the future. If we got the knowledge how to do it, the funds and capacity, of course, also to do that.
Yeah. Okay, so those are also the challenges for our Maritime Cultural Heritage Society also. Okay, thank you very much, Matthias. I think maybe we can also still come back to you at the end of our panel. I would like to come back to the results of the Baltic Cream. Jacek, in his introductory presentation, he mentioned one milestone that we managed to do in those 2 years. It's a memorandum of understanding, a memorandum, a kind of memorandum of how to include maritime cultural heritage into this planning process in the Baltic Sea region. I would like to ask Susanne Altvater on this procedure of the memorandum. Could you, Susanne, explain us shortly what is the context of this memorandum and how do you think, how will it be implemented in future and by whom? Because me personally, I think it's a great success of this project.
Thank you, Magda, for this question. Yes, actually, we came across the issue that there is a lack of linkage between MCH experts and MSP experts. So everyone is somehow working in their own bubble and has no real interaction between each other. So during the case studies of Baltic Rim, we really started strong cooperation efforts in the regions, and when the project was ending, we thought, that can't it be? We have to keep the momentum, and we would like to raise it higher on the political agenda, and to assure that MCH experts and planners are early contacting each other and starting a continuous discussion. Therefore, the partners of Baltic Rim developed this memorandum of understanding on cooperation. It's not a legal document, but it is somehow a document which supports our intention to foster cooperation. So we presented this memorandum to the BASAP working group on MSP and discussed it jointly, and after presented the idea also to establish a permanent cooperation between the working group and the Baltic Region Heritage Committee, or to establish a permanent cooperation working group or expert group, which could then support the HELCOM BASAP working group. And it was agreed that it won't be as far going as we thought, that MCH is part of the roadmap, but nevertheless, we will now be included as the sector of cultural heritage will be included in the continuous debates of the working group, and there will be also this program of works, and MCH experts will be invited continuously to foster this idea.
Well, I think, Susanne, thank you. You said it's not as far as a huge success as we thought, but I think that this including of experts in a VASAP work, or the existence of this memorandum is a huge success. Like comparing the situation from this year to this, as I always remember, I would like to come back to the 2010 or something when we started the work. It's a huge success, and I congratulate you and all the participants of the Baltic Cream of this delivery. I think, and I hope it will last. We will use it just in a daily basis. It also depends on us, yes, how to use it. Okay, thank you very much. And sorry, I muted myself. Yeah, I'm sorry. This is a challenge, and the nerves, you have to forgive me. I would like now to come with my practical questions to Salla-Maria Tikkanen from Finland. And we have heard in the presentation of Marianne about this underwater landscape concept. It is not, in my opinion, that much used in other countries, but it's strongly supported in Finland. So I would like you to say some words how you work within the Finnish Heritage Agency with this concept. And with the same time, I would like to ask the participants to look at the pool question, because we have also asked the question about the underwater cultural landscape. How do you work, and do you at all work with such a concept? So please, Maria, tell us something about this concept in your work daily.
Yes, thank you very much, Magda. What an interesting question. I'm always very happy to discuss about the concept of underwater landscape. And during the Baltic Green project, we really had a great opportunity to develop this concept, and it was developed together with the University of Turku and Laura Seesmeri. And Laura shall also publish 2 scientific articles regarding this concept. And also you can find some information about underwater landscape concept from the Baltic Green final report. We wrote kind of simple instructions how to work with this concept. Okay, and at the Finnish Heritage Agency, we have been actually working with the idea of underwater landscape for about 20 years. And we have also tested how to use that in practice. And actually, certainly everything starts from the field. When a maritime archaeologist, for example, dives at the site of shipwreck, okay, she will record the wreck certainly, but also it is very important to record the surroundings. For example, what is the geology of the site? How about flora and fauna? And also it is important to record those intangible values. For example, why the divers think that this site is important, how they experience the site, and is it beautiful? What do they think about the site? And the next step is certainly then everything must be recorded in the field report, everything must be written down, and also it is very important to add these underwater landscape descriptions for the heritage registers. And for example, if the registers are open and they are available in internet, so everybody can find these underwater landscape descriptions. And this data and information, it can be used for statements, for presentation, for land use planning, and certainly for MSP, and also for heritage tourism purposes. And in this way, we have done in Finland. I think that at the moment, we have underwater landscape description for about 20 sites in our open register. And then we have been also given some underwater landscape descriptions for the list of so-called tentative nationally significant landscapes list in Finland. And we really hope that in the future, our descriptions shall be approved officially. So everything starts from the field, and we are very happy that the underwater landscape concept is now part of the Finnish MSP. So thank you.
Yeah, but you said it's part of the MSP, and it would be very interesting to know what does it mean in practice. I mean, whether this is, you know, for protection, or this is for multi-use, or because the concept is very interesting, but what does it mean in reality? How it was, you know, introduced?
Yes, at the moment it's great that the concept is there. Marianne showed that one image of the different types of maritime and underwater sites on the coast and on the sea area. So there is the underwater landscape concept, and it is also mentioned in the culturally significant areas in the Finnish maritime spatial planning. And yes, this is a very interesting question for the future, how to use that more in practice. And I think that we must do something during the second round of MSP to have more of those sites. But in Finland, actually, the planners nowadays, they know quite well that where to find data regarding underwater landscapes. And for example, outside the city of Kotka in eastern part of the Gulf of Finland, we have the huge seabed area of Ruotsinsalmi, Svensksund. And that is just a scale that it is suitable also for the purposes of MSP. So the idea is certainly to collect the data from the field and then to have that finally on land use planning and also on MSP. It is just a change of data and ideas, and we certainly will promote more the concept of underwater landscape. But we will see that what will happen in the future. I hope that we could promote the concept even more during the second round of MSP in Finland, and also I hope that we can do that in the Baltic Sea region.
Okay, thank you very much, Sala Maria. I'm looking also at the results of the poll. We asked you, can you imagine working with the underwater cultural landscape concept in MSP? And okay, to my surprise, 92% say yes. So that's good. That's a very good good answer. And I'm glad we are aware, and you as a planners, you are aware of this concept. And also, when I'm looking at the chat, we don't have any direct questions to ask or to the presenters, but we have one, I think, a statement or opinion from Lodewijk. He said, he wrote that the Agency for Cultural Heritage in the North Sea did a mapping project to show how the North Sea was born and what are the remains of the ancient rivers in the North Sea. And he said that it was a great, better joint knowledge of the sea, and there are some planning solutions also developed based on this knowledge. So that's a quite a good example also from the North Sea. So, and it's very challenging for me when I'm listening to your presentation is that each country, this concept, this cultural heritage is different. So really each country should apply some different solutions, even if we have like a common definitions of the categories, they differ between the countries. So that's really challenging in our Baltic Sea region. And I would like to use this opportunity and turn to Iwona Pomian from Poland. And Iwona, you know that we are from Gdańsk, and Gdańsk, Gulf of Gdańsk and Puck Bay, it's our neighborhood. So it's something really crucial for us also as a planners. And I really look at this knowledge base with a great interest, because it's getting bigger and bigger and more information is there. But I also think that it can be a huge problem, maybe not a problem, but the challenge for the planners, because now we don't have an excuse. We have those knowledge, yes. And I know that you, based on the Baltic Cream project, you have submitted the proposal to the maritime special planning process of the Gulf of Gdańsk. So that's a challenge for the planners. But can you tell us, does this maritime special planning help to protect the cultural heritage? How do you feel? Is it possible for such a process as maritime planning to help to manage the cultural heritage as a paleo landscapes? How can we help here?
Yes, but before I will answer for your question, I should mention that I agree completely with Ludwig, who mentioned this North Sea example. So we learn with this example, we use these guidelines, and thank you very much for it. So, and we'll use it in the future. So I will come back to answer for your question. Yes, it was a very important project for many reasons. First of all, what you mentioned, we noticed that we have completely different imagination about definition of cultural landscape in the different countries. So it was a long discussion. The second one was that me, as a person in our team from Poland, we learn, I hope, a lot about the process of spatial planning. Also in a cooperation with you, because we try to answer for the many questions which you gave us in this project. And I should say sometimes it was very difficult to answer clearly, not generally that underwater cultural heritage is very important and good preserved, but to answer how we should manage, how we can cooperate, how we could be more, how we can be a partner for the other branches. That's very important. So we try to change a little bit our way of the thinking. And what more? Of course, we receive new tools, like, for example, this one for the cultural landscape in Pucka Lagoon. So it was a lot, and I think it's just a door which has been opened by this project for the future.
Sorry, I'm again muted. Thank you, Ivana. And yeah, that's true. I have to say that we posted a lot of questions to our cultural partners within the project because it's planners, they have to know what to do with those resources you identified, how we can help. So those questions were very important. Okay, there is one question in the chat. Yes, finally, at the very end. And the question is how you see the issue of scale in care, in managing of marine cultural heritage. Who is willing to respond to this question? What is how you see the issue of scale in care of maritime cultural heritage? Yes, Matthias.
If I may, I think this is a problem that also applies to land, actually. When it comes to large-scale planning, and we come up with single monuments, it doesn't work really on these scales. So we need to have other ideas and concepts of larger areas that can be integrated into such plans. And now we come back, and that's why we can actually come back to the landscapes again, because these are, I think, ideal concepts for large areas, because they include a lot of different objects, if you want, be it single monuments, single wrecks, or landscapes, and other fine spots. So they're all included in such landscapes. So they are really, this is really one very good approach to integrating very different aspects of cultural heritage into large-scale areas that then can be used in spatial planning. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Anybody else from our panelists would like to say something about the problem of scale in managing the maritime cultural heritage? Do we have? Yes, Sala Maria, please.
Sorry. Yes, as Matthias also said, yes, one of the reasons why we were so willing to use the landscape idea is just the scale. As most of the underwater sites, they are only spots with coordinates, so the size is too small. But with this landscape idea, we can have different types of scales, and this was just one of the points. And also in the Baltic Rim Wiki site, Marianne mentioned about that site. So we have made definition for certain types of larger scale cultural heritage phenomena like sea battle area, a ship trap area, and a ship graveyard area. That was the purpose for the wiki, that we are working with larger scale phenomena.
Thank you very much, Marie. And we have 7 minutes to go. I would like to a little bit now ask Jacek at the very end. I hope you digested all the presentations and you are ready for some nasty questions at the very end. So Jacek, you are the planner, the only planner here. I mean, no, sorry, Susan, you are also the planner, and I'm not counting here because I'm trying to just. But Jacek, you are the planner. So tell me, why maritime cultural heritage is so challenging for the planners. And all our countries, we finished the first planning phase, and in years to come, we will face the second phase of maritime special planning. How we can use it to be smarter, how we can use the experience. And another question again together is how this maritime cultural heritage could be involved in the monitoring of the plans, so we don't lose the momentum. That's to you, the final question.
Well, I think there were some other very interesting questions from Lodewijk, about the restoration of landscapes. That's very interesting, because if we are going to this maritime cultural issues, those related to emotion, this means that also, because you cannot restore the wreck, but you can restore some landscapes or things like that. But perhaps we'll have time to discuss it. Yeah, I would answer your question in a totally different ways that you expect, because I think that the clue is that because it's not a problem. I mean, we have a problem of scales, of course. We have a problem of knowledge where this heritage is. We have a problem of knowledge how people value, but this can be overcome. I mean, we have research. I think that the key issue is that we should work on making planners enthusiasts of maritime culture heritage. That's the issue. This was raised by Joanna in her speech, and she said experience. And I can share with you my own experience. So why now I think that this maritime culture heritage is important. So there were two events which changed my thinking, because, before them, I thought, okay, what a problem. We have wrecks, we should protect them. So, wow, well. And the first was, Magda, because you were lazy and you sent me to Klaipeda for a meeting, I replaced you. And then I have a really great evening with Sala Maria and Marianne, this beautiful wine and restaurant with Nereus. So I think even we have here great meetings. So I'm missing a little bit such, personal talks. And then, listening to Sala Maria, Marianne, then I realized how broad it is. And you cannot take it from any document, or you cannot experience it, reading scientific papers. So, I mean, because they were so enthusiastic about this maritime cultural heritage. So I understand that now it's our turn. We as a planners, we must bring it to our profession. And the second event was related to the visit of Ivona Pomian in our office. You remember it, Magda? And she brought to us pictures of these paleo landscapes. And we were crazy. We looked on those pictures. And this was so convincing for us as a planners. There is something. It's interesting. It's really existing. We cannot see it, but it's there. So my answer is yes, we should work on this linkage between these two professions, and we should use the planner's language. So the planner's language, is experience, and the second language is maps, like Joanna showed us, and is also language of visualization. So that would be my answer to your questions. I must say that in our Polish case, we worked with these problems of scales. So what we did, we made a kind of, because if you have those dispersed spots, what you can do, you can make a rules. So in our plan, we have some rules for protecting this cultural heritage. But of course, after Baltic Rim, after Land Sea Egg, I do believe that this approach with areas which are important from point of view of cultural heritage must be strengthened. As Matthias said, this is not easy, because if you want to add this emotional part, that's a kind of difficulty. But why I think that maritime cultural heritage is important for us, this thinking, because this is allowing us to bring to our planning normal people. Because if you ask normal people, okay, it will be a beautiful wind farm in the middle. So are you happy? Well, perhaps yes, because they care about the environment. Their feeling about this is limited. Or we make aquaculture, purifying Baltic Sea. Wow. So those questions we are discussing with these big stakeholders. And now with maritime cultural heritage, perhaps this is a way how we can bring, how we can understand normal people. That's my answer.
Thank you, Jacek. I don't know if I should be offended by pointing my laziness, but if the results were so wonderful, then okay, I will forgive you. I'm a lazy person, you have to know. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, I think I think our time is ending. When I look again at the word cloud, it changed from the beginning. I mean, you are adding some information here. So now we have the most important statement that maritime cultural heritage is history for you. Still, the emotions are there, and tourism, and we have even amber. So we have some kind of symbols here together with the attached to the cultural heritage. We have military heritage even. So that's a good, the culture, it's a good, I think, explanation. So thank you very much for your involvement in our workshop. I hope you like it, and I hope you got attached and you got enthusiastic as Jacek and myself to the maritime cultural heritage. You will be aware and you will be thinking about the culture and intangible and tangible aspects of it in each day in your every decision about the maritime space resources management. Thank you very much. And Jacek, as a moderator of the first part, maybe you want to add still something.
No, we are running out of time. Yeah. Maritime cultural heritage is worse not to be even running out of time, but artists perhaps would be angry, so we should stop.
Okay, so thank you, our presenters and panelists once more. Keeping our fingers crossed for your heritage, our heritage, sorry.
Thank you everybody, thank you, and a round of applause also to the speakers and to our excellent moderators. First of all, Professor Jacek Zaucha and Magdalena Macak. An applause from my side and probably from everybody watching around the world from their homes for helping deliver this worthwhile and rich session on marine cultural heritage. Thank you very much. And after this workshop, we are going on a power break, but we will be back here on the beta stage at 3:30 Central Eastern Time for workshop number 5, the role of MSP in supporting sustainable ocean multi-use and blue economy. But please do leave your screens on, because we will, during this power break, we will present to you our maritime planning couch experts who will share their magnificent opinion on the world around us. Please do grab yourself some tea, some coffee, take some time to stretch and rest your eyes, which is important during these online conferences for the best possible viewing experience. So see you all back at 3:30 Central Eastern Time. Till later.